Hello, welcome to my lecture number 27 here, selection of mining method part 2. We have discussed in mining method part 1 the basic considerations and parameters and factors that determines that influences our choice. Now, we will be just seeing certain applications of the ideas that we discussed in the your first lecture. Here we expect that you have fair idea of the mineral deposits. Now, we discuss this in the first lecture also, the technical and economical and legal matters related to the feasibility of any mining project, the classification of mining methods that we will again see here once again, and basic knowledge about some various some underground methods. So, that will give you idea of how to effectively appreciate this lecture. Now, the learning objectives are that we will try to find out some qualitative approach today, and this will help us to understanding how in the beginning we used to use our knowledge observational these things and some rock quality designations, rock mass ratings, these things, Q quality index, these things we used for the purpose of determining a particular method. So, today our approach will be towards application of that, how to apply this knowledge in selection of any mining method or a group of mining method as our choice. Now, the qualitative ranking system that is given by Boshkov and Wright in 1973. This is first one of the first qualitative classification schemes that is developed for underground method selection, how to select a method. So, this system, this Boshkov and Wright system, they assume that the possibility of surface mining has been ruled out, no surface mining, we are going for underground. So, it uses general descriptions of the ore thickness, deep and strength of the ore and walls to identify some common methods. Okay. So, that have been applied successfully in similar conditions. So, that is basically referring to our experience, that this was the condition, we applied these things and we found that this is applicable and successful. So, if the same similar or same situation arises somewhere else, why not choose that method? So, accordingly we can develop a framework that if this condition satisfies, then we go for this method. This is the basis of this particular Boshkov and Wright method. Okay. It can go up to 4 methods it can suggest, or sometimes more, as you can see from our slides. Here you see that the Boshkov and Wright they made a chart kind of thing, a flow chart kind of thing. So, you can go through the chart and then you reach somewhere. As you see here in say we start with thick bed. Okay. So, this is our starting point, thick bed. We have it is flat deep and it is we have the strong strength of ore and the strength of the host rock or the walls are also strong. So, we are coming here, thick bed, thick ore body, thick deposit, flat, strong and also strong your host rock. So, we have choices with open stopes with casual pillars, not very much necessary, room and pillar. So, that is going to be our choice. So, you can either go for, depending on the mineralization, further your study, you can either go for open stopes with casual pillars and or you can go for a planned pattern of pillar living pillars, right. So, either you can go for this casual levers your pillars in the stope, or you can go for the planned pattern of pillars, as we do in room and pillar method, depending on the strength of the, if it is self sustainable. So, except wherever is necessary, we will not leave too many pillars, but if it is moderate, then it is better to leave a planned pattern of pillars like that room and pillar. So, from here we get a good guideline. The Bushkov and Wright gives a good idea of what method we should choose, depending on the knowledge of the rock, at the same time the experience that others already had. So, why not to choose, why not to utilize their experience in our venture. So, that is the basic idea of the Bushkov and Wrights. Now, here you see we are going for a mass method here, say a very massive deposit, right, massive deposit. So, it is not there is no meaning of whether we call it flat or steep, it is a massive, in all side it is too big. And you see here we have your this line, if you are taking that it is weak, strength of ore, fractured, weak, it is not strong at all, and the host rock is also weak. So, what do we get? We have choice like this: sublevel caving, block caving, square set stope, combined methods. So, depending the mechanization, depending on further studies, you can now pinpoint that whether we can go for block caving, can we go for sublevel caving, because similarly on the top side also there are choices where same thing is given, sublevel stoping is given, sublevel stoping is given, not the caving, because they are strong, they are massive deposit, but we have strong ore body and strong wall. So, we can go for sublevel stoping, not sublevel caving. Caving is for the weak your ore body and weak your weak or strong host rock, weak or strong host rock. So, from here you can choose this, we have to study these choices in some more details to pinpoint a particular method which can be utilized for, which can be chosen for this condition, massive and then weak ore body with either weak or strong, depending on that we have to choose a method from here. Now, the final selection will definitely depend on further studies and possibilities of best utilization of the technology that is available. Now, the next one is by Hartmann in 1987. This selection process for defining the mining method is based on the geometry of the deposit and the ground conditions of the ore zone. Okay. So, this is almost similar, very similar to Bushkov and Wright, but it is more specific to certain mining methods, not given too many choices, that is not there. That means, it has tried to be more specific to methods. This method is definitely qualitative. So, it is a first pass, that means, it is a primary consideration. You can go for other method, take help of the other methods also, and then try to understand what should be our choice. Now, here in this method, how we do that? In Hartmann has given a method this chart, which is extremely popular. It is very, very popular. It is easy to use also. We are going for underground. We are not going in this line. We are not going here. Okay. The surface mining is ruled out in our case. Say. So, the deposit is deep. So, we are going for underground. Okay. We are going for underground method of mining, and we have this thing your again this so let us take the case of caving, because we discussed this in the other one, okay, the previous one. So, how it handles the same situation here, underground and then moderate to weak and cavable, that study has been done. Okay. We go for caving. So, for tabular, flat or thin, large size, we go for long hole mining here, but this is not, since we are not in coal. So, we usually do not use this word in mostly use this long hole mining in coal. So, this Hartmann method is surface, underground, coal and metal both. This is a combination of entire thing. This chart gives you a total combination of all these methods, all these possibilities. So, for metal mining, we can either choose for this one, sublevel caving or block caving. Okay. So, in sublevel caving here he gives another guideline, that if it is cavable, if you are going for caving, then for tabular or massive, steep, thick and large size, you have the sublevel caving. But here it is not tabular, it is massive, steep, thick and large size. Here we are going for block caving. That is, it is trying to pinpoint. It is trying to give you more specific guideline to adapting a particular method. That is the difference between the Boshkov-Wright and the Hartmann. The Hartmann method is more specific, and it gives a good guideline and usable guideline for all practical purposes. Here you see another Morrison 1976 is another qualitative ranking system. This system depends on primarily what it has done. It has broadly classified all the methods and conditions in through 3 groups, and develops a kind of a chart where you match certain things and then decide on the type or method that you are going to adopt for this particular deposit. Now, what is this? This is for group A, we have a rigid pillar support. For group B, uncontrolled subsidence, and group C is caving. Okay, this is usual. This is usual. Broad classifications are right that rigid pillar support where you require, and there is controlled subsidence. That means you can induce certain caving and then allow to fall, and group C is caving. Okay. So, this group B is in between the first one and the second one. So, what he has done in developing this chart, say here this is the this is group A, rigid pillar support. So, we have room end pillar, choice, shrinkage. Okay, this side we have sublevel and stall, and then going this side. So, what will be the controlling factors for going from group A to group B? See here what he has used, that the thickness this side is it takes care of 0 to 3 meter, and this part if it is 0 to 3 meter and then slope support unit and fill, then you have to go for this method. Okay. But if it is plus 30 meter, say here this side plus 30 meter width, invariably wide ore, and we have this strain energy accumulation is limited, that means very weak, then you see automatically you are in the caving. Very wide massive ore body with limited strain energy again says it is better to have caving. But if you have limited this thing this increasing strain energy accumulation and 3 to 30 meter width, then you can go for pillar recovery with fill. Okay, pillar recovery with fill. So, from this chart it shows that when to use support, when to use pillar support, and when you can go for the caving. Using the Morrison chart also equally you can definitely go for a verification what Hartmann says and what Morrison says. So, by using these different charts and different protocols that they have suggested, you can pinpoint a particular method. Now, the this particular chart where you see one particular thing, that in this system the ground conditions have already been evaluated. So, whether this support is required or not required. So, technically that has been evaluated already. In other things it gives only the quality of the rock mass rating, these things, but here this has been evaluated. So, if you think that the supports are required for that kind of rock, then you should be towards this side, and if it is very friable rock, fractured, where no traditional support will work for you, then you should go towards this side. That depends on the strain energy accumulation and the condition of the rock. So, this this method is also another choice. This Morrison 1976, Morrison's method is another choice for the selection of mining method. That is one way of your determining what method you are going to choose. Now, the qualitative ranking system further going down is Lobsher. We have discussed certain basic things in the part 1 of this lecture also. Here the selection process is more towards caving. That means, as if he actually his the greatest contribution is in the study of cavability. Lobster's work, and his famous book, the cave mining handbook and others, this they have given very detailed study of the cavability of the rocks, and whether we can use the block caving or sublevel caving, these things, and in what condition we should use it. So he developed that famous Lobster's chart, which is extensively used throughout the world. Here what he did from certain scientific studies, based on certain scientific studies, certain rating given, he developed this basic idea of utilizing the classification based on, first thing, the hydraulic radius. It is defined as the area by perimeter of the undercut below the caving, which is inducing the caving. So this, if this is length and this is W, then L into W divided by 2 into L plus W. This will give you the hydraulic radius or this one, okay, hydraulic radius. So this one we have to find out. Depending on different shape with the same area, this can differ. For that we will have a special lecture at the end of the block caving or the caving series of lectures at the end of this course, that is there. So you will do certain numericals there also. Here what I just I wanted to tell about this, because this is related to the choice of mining method, how it is. So if the hydraulic radius is known and the classification, that means the rock mass rating MR, if this is known, then we can find out that where we are. Can we go for a caving method, or we go for a supportable, that means in between a method where we provide support and go for a large scale mining, or we are very in a particular method where we do not require practically any support, it is absolutely stable, strong. So by seeing the the rock mass rating and also the hydraulic radius, that means depending on the opening we can find out whether we go for caving or go for supportable things or go for stable mining methods. Whether the rock condition is stable or cavable, that was his main area of research. We will very soon see that also. Here you see the parameters that determine whether a caving system is used over a stoping system and caving system. So that is the primary concern here, that we are now now trying to choose between the stoping and the caving part. So how do we do that? Here what we do, that we use this degree of fracturing, RQD, joint spacing and the joint rating, all these things. So that that is a development over RMR. We have already shown it in the first lecture, that gives you the MR modified rock mass rating. Okay. So this scheme particular idea gives puts more emphasis on the jointing as the only control of determining the cavability. So here the choice is between caving or not caving. Here it is trying to pinpoint that, as I said earlier, that if you plot hydraulic radius versus the classification number on the y axis, then you can be either here or here or here, and you can take a decision now we should go for caving or not. Mostly it is related to block caving, or not. Now here it is basically based on a very big study, very large number of mines where the caving has been practiced, and other mines where the caving was not done. So here what he did, Lobster did, that he plotted his these ideas, I mean the parameters that he suggested, the hydraulic radius area by perimeter in the x axis, and in the y axis the modified rock mass rating or MR. The basis of this whole empirical study analysis is that Lobster collected this data, the MR and the hydraulic radius from a large number of mines, and peculiarly all these mines were caving mines. That means the values of MR and hydraulic radius, they fall in this zone. So, he plotted this line like this. That means the similar values of MR and hydraulic radius, area by perimeter, can effectively indicate that we should go for block caving. Okay. If you are on this side, then you can go for stoping operations, other stoping operations, because they are quite stable, they are not going to cave. And here you have to go for a transitional part. That means, here you need certain kind of, that means you need certain additional support, or even in certain cases with induced caving you can allow that ore to cave. So, this is not very sure for caving, you need certain other technology, certain other consideration for the use of caving. But this side it is open stoping with pillars and strong support, but this side it is fully caving. So, that was the basic thing, say this as he has plotted here, and the MR is also given like this. This part is class 5 is caves, that caves very well, class 4 that caves well and caves very poorly, that means this is not possible for caving this side. This is how the knowledge that has been shared by Lobster from his studies and researches, we can find out that the the parameters like MR and hydraulic radius, that gives us the tools for identifying a particular choice of method, especially when we are going to choose between the stoping and caving methods, other stoping methods and the caving methods. So, with this we come to the end of the discussion on the choice of mining method as far as the qualitative methods are concerned. But in the next part, what we will do in the next part, that we will see that how we can use a quantitative method instead of subjective and certain observational framework. Can we give certain values to those parameters and find and then derive a particular index or a number from where we can determine that what stoping method should be chosen. That we will see in the next lectures on the selection of mining methods. Thank you.